My 1956 Beetle, Eleanore, is a project of mine which many of you are familiar with, but only about 10% of you were subscribed to me at the time that I started. This video is something that I wanted to put together for a while, especially since I discovered video stabilization and other post-editing effects to clean up these older videos. And this week, it's raining here again in Pensacola, so I figured what better time than now to revisit the first 10 videos of my biggest project to date, from when I first got the Beetle up until she went to her first show and won her first trophy. And imagine that, she didn't even have paint yet. And yes, Eleanore still isn't done yet. There are a lot of things that are in the way, both physically and on the priority list. And we'll get to that stuff and have her back on my YouTube channel in time. But if you've ever owned a vintage Volkswagen before, you know that it will never be done. The car will just get torn open yet again, and again, and again, and worked on further. Things break, and customs are even harder because you have to make things fit. This is all part of the game in keeping classic cars, and that's just the way it goes. So let's take a look back. How much Eleanore has changed and how much even I have changed in all these years. Just a lot has happened since. So thanks for watching, thanks for sticking with me through this project, and don't forget to licky, likey, comment, and subscribe, and now on to the video. Thanks for watching. Beep. Well, we're back, and it's been quite a while since I've been up here on YouTube, but if you look behind me, you might see there's something a little different that you haven't seen me with before. And yes, it's a 1956 oval Volkswagen Beetle. Extremely rare. I don't remember what the production numbers were of these things, but there aren't a whole lot of them made, or there weren't a whole lot of them made, and there's certainly not a whole lot of them left anymore. And this one is mostly original. I checked the VIN number on the floor, and I checked the VIN number on the body, and I checked the VIN number on the motor, and they're all within a few months of each other, so this thing is as close to original as you're going to get. It is very badly falling apart. It's got a lot of problems. As soon as I open this door, the whole body's coming off. The heater channel's gone, the floor pans are all rotted out. The seats are in terrible, terrible shape. The wheels are even rusted through. The deck lid is gone. The dude I got it from removed the deck lid and decided to use it for a piece of rusty old wall art, so he's happy with that. It is the 36 horsepower motor that originally came on these. And probably the thing that's in the best condition of these is the tail lights. Somebody changed the lenses out sometime recently, I would say. They look pretty good. Bumper is in horrible, horrible condition. Passenger side door. The whole skin is coming off of it. It's all rotted out on the bottom. Same thing on this side. There is absolutely no heater channel left. It's not even there. It's just, it's gone. It's gone. Dashboard started to rot through. Tops of the doors look pretty good though. You see, they're rusty, but they're not rotted through. That side's pretty good too, although the roof rotted through over there. Started out probably as a pinhole in the gutter, and the water got inside the car and ate it alive. And that's what happened over there. The water got into that corner and just destroyed it. The back is in excellent shape though. The oval window is just in remarkable condition. The side windows have absolutely no rust on them. It's just a little bit of surface rust on the inside, and that's really stuff that's easy to address. But the rest of the car, as you can tell, is in some pretty sorry condition. Up front, we've got... Oh, the door doesn't want to close now. This isn't new. There it goes. Hey, it closed better than it ever did. Hood's rotted through in the corners, both corners. Windshield's rotted out, probably all the way along the bottom of it. It looks pretty bad there. The fenders are the original 1956 dimpled ones. You see it's got the dimple in here. The headlight actually protrudes. First time I saw that, I thought somebody's fender got dented. So somebody leaned onto with a knee or something, but that's actually the way they're supposed to be. Hood is boinked in the front. Hood hinges have just completely stripped themselves off the hood. The hood is probably salvageable. I think that can be fixed with, probably use a later model hood and weld in some of the new inners and replace the bottom. Not too big of a deal. But the trunk space is rotted through to the inside, to the floor. Part of the glove box is still there. Those are originally manufactured from cardboard. Spare tire, well, that's gone. Right there is where the windshield washer bottle would sit if you had one, and that's also gone. But, I love this. Those are the original numbers that are on there, and they match the ones on the pan and the body. So, boom. This is my new toy. Another project. At this point now I've got, I think it's like 13 Volkswagens, like way too many, but I'm having fun. And in between Volkswagens I chase women. No, seriously, I got a girlfriend now. I gotta be a good boy. Right? Yeah. William over here is nodding. He's trying to stay off of camera. We've never captured him before. How you guys would know him? You remember that blue Carmen Ghia I had? There it is now. It's no longer blue, it's black. William was the happy purchaser of that, what do you figure, about 2 years ago? 2 years ago, and it's been doing him very well every day. He's had very, very minimal issues with it. You're welcome. You're welcome. Somebody knew how to put a car together. So there's my 1956 Volkswagen Beetle. I got to figure out exactly how I'm going to treat this one to get it to the way I want it. But it's going to be a massive lot of work, and I think I'm going to move out a bunch of other projects so I can focus more on this one instead. As this has been my dream since I was a kid, and this is what I've always wanted. And I found one, I found it cheap. It needs a lot of help, but when they get to this point and they need everything, I don't feel so bad doing a little bit of customization to it. So there will be a little bit of custom work done to this, because it just needs everything. Just everything is needed on it. But anyway, more on this one in the future. So stay tuned and continue to watch DuckmanCycles. And if you're a crazy lunatic, you continue to watch VV the Duck VV. Also check out Skeeter the Duck. Skeeter's still with us. And William, do you have a YouTube channel? Nope, no YouTube channel, so too bad for William. Well, there's the 56 Beetle again. Oval window. I already started to strip it down. I had all four wheels off of it. I pulled the fenders out. I wanted to see how much damage we had up under on the quarters. And actually, it don't look that bad. These corners always go bad, and there's actually patch panels that are made for that. Those little corners almost always go bad too. The bottom of that panel goes bad. That's pretty typical. Both sides are like that. That's just what happens to them. Right there, right there. As you know, the bottoms of the doors are out. So, to rebuild this door, yeah, it might be possible. But I think I'm probably looking at replacing the door, unless I find another door that has a good bottom and a bad top. That would be kind of weird, I guess, unless somebody had some crash damage. The front quarters are pretty good. Down on the bottom of the spare tire well, they almost always rust out down there when the water is allowed to penetrate. Oh, you gotta excuse me, I choked on a burrito this morning. Not more than about 10 minutes ago. Breakfast burritos. So, that's that. I got the hood off. Around the edge of the cowl, it's got some holes. There's, of course, is a hole in the trunk that goes down into the passenger's footwell. The front bulkhead is rotted out on the bottom. That's pretty typical also. I don't know what the underside of the frame head looks like. I actually just forgot or neglected to look there. But this is good up in here, and I don't believe this is made reproduction. The front clip is, but not the early oval style. This quarter, again, is not too bad either. On the bottom is usually where they rust down, right where they attach to the heater channel. And as you know, the heater channels are gone. There are no heater channels in this car whatsoever. Yeah, they're gone. That's what's left of the floor pan here. So that's where I'm at, tearing this thing down. I definitely got some more work ahead of me. A lot of cutting and welding, cutting and welding, cutting and welding, but I'll get it. You'll see. I'm pushing through on this one pretty hard. I want to see this one finished, and I want to get some of the other stuff that I have sold. I just have too much stuff around. And I'd rather have a 56 oval. I mean, this is what I've always dreamed of, so this is where I'm at. Well, if you remember, I got the drums freed up on the 56 Beetle, but I had a problem with getting the transmission to turn. And later when I attempted to rip out the engine, and yes, that's what it took, I had to actually rip the engine out after 3 days of work. I discovered that the engine was not only fused to the transmission, the cases were actually fused on the bottom, but the clutch was also fused to the input shaft right there in the middle. That disc you see is actually the inside of the clutch. So the clutch exploded when I was pulling the motor out. It took 3 days of hammering, cursing, swearing, and prying, And once I got everything apart, I discovered the transmission was junk anyway, so I really didn't do it any damage that it didn't have already. So we're not going to miss that too terribly. But the transmission wouldn't turn, therefore the rear drums wouldn't turn, even though I did have the drums free. So I built what you see underneath here, kind of like rollerblades, rollerblade dolly. I used some old wheels that I had from a body dolly that I was pushing around the yard, but I had a problem with them holding air. As you can see, that one got flat. But I got the job done. I got to hold air long enough that I was able to move the car out of the driveway, so code enforcement wouldn't come over and give me a hard time about having an ugly old nasty car collapsing in my driveway, which I've been working on. And yes, code enforcement does do that. I have never had a run-in with them, however, because I always keep things pretty tidy around here, especially up in the front yard anyway. The backyard's a different story. But what you see from the street, my house looks like anybody else's. But yeah, those are my rollerblades. So I got the car rolling. I got the front tires to hold air for almost a week actually, so they did pretty well. And we got the thing pushed back here, and it pushed quite easily. It pushed quite easily. Once that motor was out, the car gets really light. And those little wheels with air in them, they didn't have much of a problem rolling over the terrain back here to get the car to where it's at. So I'm satisfied with that. But we'll be doing some more updates on this soon. Stay tuned. Well, here we are again with my 56 oval. I'm continuing to do some removal of components. I pulled out the windows. The driver's side rear window here has no rust around the edges of it at all. It's actually in really good shape. The oval, there's a little bit of buzziness along here that can be cleaned up. That's not too big of a deal. It doesn't need any welding. The weep holes where the water escapes from are actually still intact. All three of them are still there. But otherwise, there's no rust damage to the oval. It's in good condition. The passenger side rear window, there's a little bit of rust here on the bottom. There's one little hole. I can clean that up and just plug that. And in this here, I can go ahead and clean this up and build up some weld on that and get that fixed too. It looks still crumbling underneath my fingers. But yeah, with a little donor piece, I can fix that in there. That's no problem. All the rest of it is all surface rust. So the windows are in pretty good shape over here. Not so much for the front windshield though. This cowl is shot. It rotted right on through in both bottom corners. The driver's side much worse than the passenger side because the entire A-pillar is actually on its way out. Oh, there you go. Good example. The outer skin right here is probably not too awfully bad, but it's rotted through here on the outside. It's rotted through up on the inside. There's an inner panel that's just gone. Completely gone. The dashboard might be salvageable. I think I can save the dash. The corners of it will need some refabrication up in there because that's where the defroster vents come through. So I'll need to rebuild those. That shouldn't be too big of a deal. It's just some flat sheet metal cut in kind of a Nike swoosh symbol. And as we know, the heater channels are completely gone in this car. And what I did notice this morning was that the bolts for the floor pan are still in the floor pan flange with the nuts still attached to it from the heater channel. So the heater channel rotted out around the nuts. And the flange is actually in pretty good shape. I might wind up saving that for another floor rebuild. Sometimes if you have a good flange like this, you can actually refabricate the floor pan that goes across the bottom, which is some plain sheet metal. I've done that for a couple of floor pans, and in fact, I'll be doing a video update on another car that I just did that to a few weeks ago. But that's my 56 oval, and she's a mess. I'm going to be doing very few updates on this. I'm just going to show progress periodically whenever I have huge breakthroughs and I make some big changes. I'm not going to do so much a how-to like I have on some of the other projects that I've worked on. You guys have seen me do it before. I don't think I need to show you again. But you'll be seeing this as it comes along. So stay tuned. Alright, down under here, I've got a new heater channel. And I've got a second one over there, which of course will go on the other side. Just going to replace this here. Look, normally we'll go across here. That's what keeps the car structurally straight. This thing is just falling apart. And that's one of the primary reasons why, is that's not holding it together. The only thing that's holding it together is the roof, which is cracking and falling apart. So it's in some pretty sorry shape. I've also got some A-pillar bottoms. That's what these are right here. As you see, the bottom of the whole A-pillar is rotted out. This is what's left of the heater channel. These are the early heater channels too. You see from the heater vent that's on there. Now the 50s ones had the heater channel output for the vent way up further up front. In fact, you can see it over there. So I'll be doing probably a little modification if I feel like making it as original as possible. But yeah, the vent's a little further back on these heater channels, but this is the earlier style heater channel vent. So of course, once I've got the heater channel in, I replace the A-pillar bottom, and we get the door solid back up there. And it looks like it's bigger, but the fact is this actually butts up against this corner in here, so this thing should fit in there snugly. It may fit a little goofy. I wouldn't be too surprised, because of course this is a early model Beetle. And Boomer, what the hell's your problem? Why do you keep biting me, huh? You butthead, go away, go away. This is an earlier model Beetle, and I think those are made for some other year and up. In fact, what's it say on it? It doesn't say. Front door, pillar, left. Doesn't have a year on there. But I'll look it up just because. But I got a set of those to fix another car. I figure they're going to go on here instead. So we'll get that fixed. We'll get this body nice and solid again. And once it's rigid, and of course once the door's closed straight, that's going to be the real trick. Why do you keep biting me? Get out of here, you. Boomer's been a real nut job. He's been bothering me while I work. Skeeter's a good girl. She don't bother nobody at all. Right, Skeeter? You be a good girl? He likes to come over and just bite me. He's a boy. He's 4 months old, and he is trouble. I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you. I'll get you. So anyway, those are the door bottoms. Those are the heater channels, and we'll get this thing slowly but surely put back together. Once I get that in there, I'll start doing some more of the bottoms here. I think I've got a set of panels for that somewhere also. Those are the same for all years, and if they're not the same, they're pretty damn close. So I should be okay with that. I don't want to unbolt the body from the pan, because that bolt there and the one on the other side and the 2 bolts up on front on the axle beam up here is really what's holding this chassis, or what's holding the body together. It's stopping the body from folding up like a taco. Otherwise this body would close this way. It'll just collapse, or it'll spread open. I mean, that could happen too. But right now that I still have the doors on it, I should be able to square everything up, and I should be able to, ooh, it's like it's getting worse. I should be able to, whatever necessary to, I might have to put a jack under there a little bit and spread it. The gap looks a little wide on the top too, and the gap is too small on the bottom. So it's definitely going to need some finagling until finally I get that fitted properly. And then I got to decide what I'm going to do with these doors. These doors are pretty sorry. I'm probably going to wind up replacing them. I don't think I can fix them unless I manage to find some doors that have the tops all messed up. And I can find a door skin or a door bottom. I need the inside too. Cut the bottom off, probably about the first, 4 or 5 inches or so. Cut it all the way across. Of course, taking a measurement first to make sure I get the right length on the door. Squaring it up, and then welding it all back together. I think I can fix those too. That's if I don't find another set. The 1950s doors are a little unique, a little bit. Mainly because of the door handle. The door handle is actually a big lever, and it only has 1 hole, whereas the other Beetle ones are usually a thumb button or a trigger, and it has 2 holes. These are just the 1-hole style. So they are a little bit different for what that's worth. I don't know what's different on the inside. I'd venture to say something, but I don't have education in that territory. Steering wheel, I'll probably pull it apart and restore it. It looks pretty sorry. It had leather wrapped around it. It's dirty, it's cracked, but most of these cracks can be filed out, filled with epoxy, and sanded back down. It's a couple-day project, but I'll have a nice, beautiful, like-new steering wheel again. So that'll be kind of cool. But this thing's in some pretty bad shape. Pretty bad shape, but I'm gonna bring it back to life. I can do it. Well, I've done a little sawing to the front of my 56 oval because I'm gonna turn it into a Baja. Kidding. No, I'm not really gonna turn it into a Baja. But the front clip was just totally rotted out, so what I did was I got another one, which has actually been hanging on my shelf for quite a while. And I'm going to use that to rebuild this one, particularly the bottom, which is just all rotted out, the front apron, which is shot, and there was a little bit of rust up in the sides around here, Actually, no, they don't look that bad, but it doesn't matter. It's getting replaced. But as you probably noticed, the interior wall where the brake reservoir sits is completely different between the 56 and this clip that I've got to replace it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill out all the spot welds, because this piece is pretty good, weld it back into here before that clip goes back onto this car. In addition to that, it also frees up a lot of workspace, so I can attack up in the, oh my god, this is just a mess. So I can attack this and get this whole piece replaced too. The front quarter actually looks like it's pretty good otherwise, except for the bottom. But yeah, we'll get this piece replaced in here. Get those heater channels replaced. And although this thing is a mess and I'm a little bit drunk, and that's probably why I'm so confident, I think we'll have a intact car again, possibly in the next month or so. It's going to be a lot of work I'm putting into this thing. I mean, every night after I get off of work, and every morning before I go into work, and every weekend that I have free, I'm going to be cutting and welding on this son of a bitch. So there's going to be a lot of progress being made here. A lot of progress being made here in a very short period of time. I'm still forced to use this stupid cell phone camera that I've got here. Wish I could find my camcorder, it's still missing. But during the time that I did some work on the oval, I took a bunch of photos, so I'll finish up the video with a slideshow to show you what happened with the body and give you a little idea as to what I had to deal with. So the body turned out to be in far worse shape than I thought, but not so much because of the condition that I found it in, but rather because of what I had done to it. If you remember from the last video, I pushed down on the trunk area after I cut the front clip off, and it was very wobbly. Oh my god. This is just a mess. Well, I didn't think too much of it, but I began to unbolt the steering column to get it out of the way so I could do some of the repairs behind it. And the steering column is not supposed to be a structural part of the vehicle. It's supposed to be just for the steering. But once I unbolted it, the entire car collapsed. It broke in the middle. The doors fell and hit the ground. The roof flexed right in the middle. The entire dashboard kicked back. The A-pillars flexed beyond where they're supposed to be. They were rusted through entirely, so I had to replace a lot of pieces of metal. So in order to make this thing more manageable, I just started cutting it up. So I cut the entire car in half, and I cut the oval out of it. And the reason why I cut the oval out of it is because up underneath the oval, there's a second set of louvers that protects the motor from the rain that gets into the air. I replaced it with a new part. I couldn't find a suitable donor piece for the A-pillars and windshield area, so I wound up making one. I cut up an old windshield frame from 1969, and they're slightly curved, but I made changes to the metal so that way it not only became as flat as I could possibly make it, but also so that it conformed to the shape of the 1956 oval windshield, and allowed the original 56 part to fit in there. The entire windshield frame, top, bottom, sides, and A-pillars around the roof, I mean, all of that needed to be replaced, including a good section of the dashboard. Then I began to put the car back together. More updates on that in the future because this video is running just a little long, so there's a cliffhanger for you. Right here in the middle is the 1956 oval Beetle chassis. Right now I'm standing on top of a IRS one. I don't know what the VIN number is. I gotta look at it to see what year it is. There's another IRS over there, but this one in the middle is the one from the oval. You can see the floors are just completely gone. Yep, they're finished. Lost. The tunnel looked pretty good. It looked pretty good from the underside too. I think I could probably reuse it if I wanted to. But again, putting it back to swing axle was not my intent. But this is what we're looking at here. And there's the obnoxious dog that won't be quiet when I'm trying to shoot a video. You see just how bad off this was. Now remember, this was submerged in salt water. And that's why it got destroyed. The hurricane came up and put 6 feet of seawater over the Beetle. Transmission, as you can see, the magnesium just gave out. It just didn't make it. Salt water will just eat up the magnesium. So that's what we're looking at there. Now, to give you a little bit of an idea as to what happened to the oval. Well, we're back again. I figured I would do a little update on the 1956 oval Beetle that I've got here. That's not what this is, but we're going to talk about the Beetle today. We're going to get to that. This is the 73 Beetle. That thing is done and has been done for quite a while, so we're going to do another video on that another time. But behind me here, we have a pan. One of the first things you probably notice about it if you are a Volkswagen person is that it does have an IRS rear suspension on it. Now, I never did intend to put a swing axle back into the oval Beetle. I want a car that's actually going to be a good driver, and I want to have a little fun with it. Swing axle, to me, just doesn't perform like I would want it to. Secondly, I also have everything I need to build an IRS car. I have a lowered beam for the front, I have a set of drop spindles for the front, and I also have 4-wheel disc brakes for an IRS set. So this is the pan that will be going under that Beetle. I will detail what it takes to do the conversion. It's actually really not very hard at all, but I will explain what I did in a later video. But here's the pan. You can see all the welds that I did on here. I put this pan all together. It's got about 8 coats of paint on it, and I mean, it is shiny. It's a little dirty from having sat here for the last couple months while I was working on some other stuff on the body, but this pan is more or less ready to rock and roll. I just got to assemble it, and it should be a good rolling solid pan with absolutely no rust on it because everything's been restored. It's on a rotisserie, by the way. Ow, that really hurt. Oh, that hurt. There's the bottom side, equally as shiny. Also about 8 coats of paint on it, nice and thick. I wanted something that was going to hold up. I thought about putting some bed liner on it, but I kind of want it shiny. I'm going to be putting this car in shows. So this is my pan that I've got built. I store it next to the 73 Beetle. So we've got another exciting episode here of my 1956 Oval. Right now I'm taking a ride in the 68 Fastback just to talk to you guys about what's going on with this car. It is, as you know, in very, very bad shape. I mean, I had to cut just about everything off of that car, and I'm still continuing to cut things off of it because I'm finding nothing but rust. Underneath rust, underneath rust, underneath rust. So I just keep cutting deeper and deeper. A lot of the parts that I've been looking for, original parts, are either hard to find or non-existent. Reproduction parts for one of these early Oval Beetles are extremely rare and expensive. And I've gotten to the point that I'm just fixing things to the best of my ability with the parts that I have. So the car will not be all original, it won't. And it won't be absolutely stock or factory because I'm going to be doing some modifications to it, and some things will be changed from how they were when they were brand new. So the car will not be as it was. You could call this car a custom car, that's what it's going to be. Am I going to do something ridiculous like Volksrod it? Absolutely not. I am not going to fuck my car up. I'm sorry. The Hurricane Ivan did enough to it, and I think I need to do it a little bit of respect and put it back together in one solid piece that is at least as close to original as possible as I can make it without actually replacing the original parts that we discussed before. But anyway, on to this video. Check out what's going on and watch me hack this thing to pieces. Well, if you remember from the last video, we discussed what happened when I cut off the front clip and removed the steering column. The entire car collapsed, of course, and then I began to cut the car up to try to save it from collapsing and damaging any components any further. So once I got that far, I had to do a little additional cutting to get down behind some of the panels where there was some rust that were not otherwise accessible and would not be accessible unless I did some more cutting. So I continued to chop away. So I began to look at the roof, which got a little bit flat, and I noticed it was going to need to be cut out as well. Once that was cut on out, I removed the rear windows, and I had a look at the inside of those. They needed some repairs too. The rear luggage area then got pulled off, and I stood it up and looked, and the entire rear wheelhouse and rear apron area needed to be chopped off, so we pulled that off next. Once I had that looked at, I examined the rear apron and realized that was not salvageable in any way. So I started doing my favorite thing, and that's car part shopping. I visited CIP1, had a look at the Beetle parts, and I did a search for an H apron for a Beetle, and I was kind of appalled when I saw the price. Almost $500 for a new rear apron? I think I'll pass, and I'll attempt to fix what I've got. So what I did was I cut the H area out of the old apron, and I went ahead and dropped it into a 1960 model's apron anyway. And I should be able to get it to look like it was factory to those that are passing by that probably wouldn't really notice that this isn't an original H apron, but in order to save $500, I said, fuck it, this is the way I'm going to do it. And as you can see from the photos, it still needs a little bit of sanding, but I think you get the point. Here is Skeeter checking out the old rear apron, which was all cut to pieces. What we're looking at next is the front cowl that was underneath the windshield. Of course, that was all rotten out. I had to separate the dashboard from it, which is what you're looking at here. That is the cowl from above the windshield, which also was all rotted and destroyed. Here is the luggage area from the front. You say that's the bottom of the trunk. And then here's the front clip. Now you might notice that there's a white piece that's in there that doesn't belong there, and that's actually a drawer from an oven. And the reason why I'm using that is because this will probably turn into a piece of wall art, and I need to reinforce it to hold it together, so that's what I wind up using. We're not going to see that anyway, but yes, you could say that this front clip is actually part Kenmore. Here is the section of the front clip that was removed that white piece did replace. This contains all of the body and VIN numbers on it. It also was where the front body bolts attached to the beam. Those two big holes that look like they might be stereo speakers are actually how you access the steering box on either a left or right-hand drive car, depending upon whether you're here or overseas. This has a lot of little pieces to it and will have to be pulled apart to be completely rebuilt. I have not found reproduction pieces for each one of these little bits yet. The doors were an interesting issue altogether. They were pretty good skinned on the outside, and the top portions of them were not in bad shape at all, but the bottoms were completely destroyed. The bottoms on both doors were just completely rotted out. There was nothing that was really holding the bottoms together at all. The skin was separated, and the glass even fell out the bottom of the one door. So what I did was I cut the top off of the door, and then I went ahead and grafted it onto a late model door. Of course, before doing all of this, I did shop for original early model small window doors. I could not find doors locally to service this car, so I'm going to have to make some, and that's what I did. So anyways, I hope you guys are enjoying this video series. This car project is probably one of my bigger ones, and I have enough projects that just aren't finished or just aren't getting done fast enough. And I'm not going to wait until I'm old and gray to finish this one. I mean, I've got enough gray already, so this project doesn't need to take 10 or 20 years. I need to have this thing done and done soon. So that's the other reason why I'm not using original parts, because number one, I can't afford them. Number two, I'm not going to wait that damn long to find them at a good price. And number three, if I can make them or use what I've got, I'm going to. And if you don't like my car because of something that I did to it, you can go fuck yourself. But I'm pretty sure you guys are going to be understanding and you're going to really enjoy what I'm building here. As I said, I'm going to do this car right, and I'm not going to turn it into a complete hack job, so don't expect a Volkswagen out of this or something other disgusting piece of shit. This is going to be a nice car, it's going to be elegant, it's going to keep its fenders, but it's going to be, you know, custom, so expect something nice. Anyway, stay tuned, you guys. I'm going to be on a little hiatus for a while from this project because, number one, I need to find my camcorder. I'm still on this stupid cell phone. And number two, because I have other things that need to be worked on. But as soon as I make some more progress on this car and I have a chance to shoot some more videos in the next upcoming, I'd say a couple months, I'll give you an update, of course. So I'm going to try to keep on this thing every Monday with some kind of update, so stay tuned and watch. There will be updates to some of the other projects that I've also been working on, but don't ask about them here. Don't, you know, hijack my video. Anyway, thanks you guys. Stay tuned. Talk to you later.
Several months later.
Oh, you're crazy. Car's a piece of shit. You're never gonna get that thing done. It's a piece of garbage. What are you doing with that piece of crap car? I've scrapped cars in better condition than that one. Oh, you're gonna spend too much money.
Howdy, boys and girls. It's been a long time since I addressed you guys about the 56 Beetle. It's been a couple months since I had some big updates on it. I made some promises and I said I was going to get it in a car show. That car show happened on Saturday, just 2 days ago. It made it there. Barely, but it made it there. I spent a lot of long nights just grinding away at metal and trying to get things covered. I didn't get to fill any of my final welds, but it was rolling. I had the tow bar on it and we got it across town. And after one mishap, one of the axle nuts actually had come off the wheel, and then all of the lug nuts followed out after that, and I don't know why that happened. It makes no sense to me, and if I didn't know better, I would have said somebody sabotaged me, but it was a lot of late nights, so there's a possibility I might have been a little tired, a little drunk, and it just didn't get finished properly, and that's probably what the case was. But it made it to the show, and I got a trophy. Now you guys are saying, you know, we're a minute in the video. Where's the car? Well, there's the oval. Nope, lying. That's the 73 Beetle, and the reason why I'm showing that to you first is to make a comparison as to what my oval looks like now.
What you did today?
Oh yeah, let me see it.
There's the oval.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
pretty-
you like that, idiot.
I do.
got it. You don't. Shut up.
God
And
damn.
now you're going to be oohing and ahhing, and you're going to say, oh, you know, you messed up a classic car or some other crap. Well, no, I didn't. I actually saved a classic car. This car was broken down. It was in a mess. It was falling apart, and you saw it in many pieces. But now it's back together, and it's whole. There's a lot of parts on it that are not original, and that's unfortunate, but that's just the way it's going to be. I couldn't find all of the original parts. They were either too expensive or just not available in this general area, and to ship them just didn't make sense. The car was so beaten and destroyed anyway that I was going to build a custom, and I knew I was going to build a custom. So here it is. This is a roof chop oval, super wide fenders. It's got a slant chop on it. I did some reading and talking with lots of people about their methods as to how they do this, and I kind of combined a bunch of different people's instructions and then took my own spin on things. And as you notice, the roof is raked forward. That's a slant chop. I did the same thing following with the door pillars, and the reason why is because when you cut the piece out of the front door, the door becomes shorter. So it's either cut the door in the middle once again and add a piece to extend it, or add some style to the car and slant the B-pillar right here. The B-pillar is kind of an interesting subject because if you look at the 73 over here, and even the earlier Beetles are this way too. The earlier Beetles have thicker pillars, but the B-pillar doesn't match the door pillar. This is actually skinnier. And to me, that always looked wrong. And some of my friends that I pointed this out to at the show actually became a little frustrated by it, because now they say every time they look at a Beetle, they notice that. Well, looking at my oval, the pillars are the same width. I did that on purpose. It's not stock. It's one of those things that people don't really notice, but once I pointed it out, they see it immediately. The windows, of course, are slanted back here, the quarter windows. A lot of people screw up their chops in the back here. They don't ever seem to get this point correct. That shape usually gets lost and it becomes like a capital D shape. You know, it's symmetrical on top and bottom. Well, that's not how they are. They're flat on the bottom and they're curved on the top. So I spent a lot of attention into getting that cut that way, and as you notice, the entire window was cut out of this thing. I've got some pictures that you guys have seen already as to what that looked like when I actually cut the car all apart. The door is original 56 on top, of course hacked and whacked, but the bottom is actually a late model door with the 56 mechanism put into the, I shouldn't say that, the 56 handle, as well as the receiver for it was grafted into there, but the mechanism in the door is actually a late model. This was so rotted out on the early car, the 56, that I also added the late model B-pillar in through here too. So it works. The door fits nice and solid. Door gaps are pretty good. I could have done a little better in here, and that frustrates me a little, but nobody noticed it when it was at the show. They were quite pleased with it. Most of the front end, the whole front clip, just about the entire front clip, is actually from a later model Beetle. It was just so rotten out. You guys saw it. When I unbolted the steering column, the car broke in half, and the reason why is because the entire bottom of it was rotted out. All the places where the bolts go into it were all gone, so there was no place for me to bolt the car back together. So just about the entire front end is a late model Beetle. And the only thing that really gives it away is the rain gutter in here. On an oval, this is flat. There's the front cowl. Remember I said the later models had a rain gutter. This doesn't, it's flat. This thing was just, it's shot. The whole pinch weld along the windshield was just rotted out. So it was easier to change the whole thing than it was to try to fix this kind of stuff. I mean, it was just bad. Here's the A-pillar right in front of the passenger side door. This was all gone, and this just separated. I mean, it fell out. It wasn't even attached to anything anymore. Just gone, rusted. And I could go ahead and cut it out and weld it closed and, you know, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? It's actually useful, and there's a reason why they added that, and it stops the water from getting back up into the window pinch weld that's through here and causes this to rot out. And that's exactly what was wrong on my oval. That was all rotted out all through here, all up through here, and the roof on this side was all rotted out on the top. Somehow there was a pinhole had formed up in the rain gutter over here, and the water actually was way up in here, and the water got down on the inside, and it's interesting on the inside. You see this here? It reinforcement, that brace, is actually like a gutter, and it's not meant to be, but the water got trapped inside of it, and then it drained down through the A-pillar, which is what rotted out the bottom, which rotted out the A-pillar, which rotted out the windshield frame. That's what caused most of the damage to the front end. Whole trunk was gone. It was just so full of holes and so falling apart, I had to replace the entire panel, or in my case, just replace the whole clip. This is where your feet would normally go. This is the underside of the dashboard, and you'll see this is exactly why I replaced it. See, it's too far gone, way too far gone. You can actually buy a new section to replace that, but because all of this was gone too, there's no place for the bolts to screw into anymore. It's just all gone. Here's what's left of the heater channels. Here's what was left of the A-pillars. Just toast. Absolute toast. And the aftermarket replacement front apron that I put on there, that's not original Volkswagen anything, but it was the only one that I can find, and it was at a reasonable price, so I put it on there. You can see the sticker on it because it's actually a new part. It's not bad. It's good, but the problem is the hood gets caught on the lip, so it just doesn't want to open. I got to actually stick a screwdriver in there and pop it, but once I got a rubber seal in there, it won't be an issue anymore. Passenger side did the same thing with the doors, you know. 56 handle, late model mechanism. That actually gives me 2 locks in each door. Now, there's really no great purpose for having 2 locks in each door, but the driver's side has a key lock on the outside, and the key lock is actually part of the door handle. On the late models, the lock is part of the mechanism instead. So because I've got 2 pieces here that both lock, I can lock these independently or together. And I would imagine that if a thief really wanted to get into this car, he'd be having a hell of a time getting that door open, because he wouldn't understand what to do. Even from the inside, he wouldn't understand what to do unless I made it really clear. We've got some Porsche phone dial wheels on here. You probably noticed we're missing a lug bolt in each one of them, and that's because the wheel that came off that destroyed all of the lug bolts, I had to steal 1 out of each wheel, which gave me 4 to put that wheel back together, and of course that means a remainder of 4 on the rest of the car. But anyway, after the car broke down and the wheel came off of it, when I was on the way to the show, I was so frustrated. I drove back home with the ducks. I dropped the ducks off in the house, and I unloaded all of the props for this car. I had a fire extinguisher and a first aid kit and the headlights and the seats and a whole bunch of extra stuff to make the car look more complete to put it in the show. And when I went back to get the car fixed, which I had to leave it a few miles from home, I was concerned somebody was going to take it, but I'm kind of glad it didn't have a wheel on it, because you can't really take it without a wheel. But anyway, I loaded the car up with tools. I had the Z with me, of course. It became my tow truck. And I got out there. I got a new set of not lug bolts. I got a new wheel nut. I brought the tools for that to reattach it and get everything put back together. I got everything snugged down and torqued properly. And then I went and took the other side apart just to make sure that it was all right, and it didn't have any problems. Now, I don't understand why that is. I worked on both of them at the same time. But nonetheless, 2.5 hours roadside. It was a frustrating event, but I made it. I survived. The car got to the show. But like I said, the car was incomplete, so I only got second place. Yeah, this many. This is second place. Still, it's the first trophy that I've ever gotten for one of the cars that I've actually built. There's my girlfriend's fat booty. Yes, you're looking at some super wide fenders on here. Not one person at the show complained about this car being unoriginal. There was one guy that was an absolute purist, and he even said that he liked this car, mainly because it was just in such bad shape. There was really no alternative other than to just, rebuild it with whatever was available. On the inside, there's the stock steering wheel and steering column from the oval. Of course, the stock dashboard is in there. I put that all back together in the front clip. The front windshield is an interesting topic, because this part of the roof here is donor. This is oval, and I wish I never put this strip in here, but we'll get back to that in a minute. This is a donor piece, and this is, of course, the oval. This is donor. This is oval. This is oval. This is oval. This is a donor. This is donor, and somewhere here in the middle was original oval part. The rear package area, if you look real closely in there, you'll see the cut that I made through here when I chopped it, and you'll see another cut down here lower in the bottom. That was because the package tray was rotted, so this was a donor part, but this is original. The oval and louvers, there was some rust holes through here. In fact, there's one here that I missed it somehow when I was doing some grinding and actually collapsed. So there's one rust hole here that I need to fix. But overall, the outside skin wasn't too bad. The inside skin did have a lot of things that needed repairs. In addition, the louvers that are up under here, you might notice those are late model. If you've ever even really noticed that they're there. Most people that I talk to about Beetles and such, they don't understand that there's another set of louvers underneath the outside louvers. But those are from a late model. You see them under there. The oval ones were very different. They were completely rotted out, so I had to fix it. I didn't get a motor into it in time for the show, so I made a little joke motor here. I had one that had a hole in the case, and what had happened is one of the rod journals had actually just gently tapped a hole through the case, and it was a tiny little hole. And the guy that used to own the case took it to a welder, and the welder blew a bigger hole into it and gave it back to him that way. When it started out, it was about the whole size of a dime. You know, now it's the size of, a lemon. So anyway, I pushed a rod through it, pulled a piston through it, made a little joke there, painted the engine case all up nice. So for whatever it's worth, I got a couple extra points at the car show for it. Of course, there's my H apron. This was remanufactured by me. Some of the dimensions of it are completely wrong, but it looks correct. I just got some Cleco pins in there holding the deck lid on. And they call that a Pope's nose, but it's really not the Pope nose. It's a license plate light. That is correct for a 56 model year. The car overall is it's beyond my expectations. You know, I wanted to have more done on it, but it turned out a lot better than I ever expected it to. Just a lot better than I ever expected it to. I'm quite happy with it. I was going for making this car look angry, and I think I've succeeded. It's just, you see, looks happy and cheery, typical Volkswagen happy cheery, and this is Eleanore, and that's what I named her. If you remember one of the last videos that I had, well, maybe a few videos ago, I discussed choking on a burrito one morning. Oh, you gotta excuse me, I choked on a burrito this morning. Not more than about 10 minutes ago. Breakfast burritos. Well, that actually led to a breakup that same day from my ex at the time. We weren't together very long, and she was jealous of this car. So this car is actually the other woman. And in Miami slang, some of you folks in Miami may be able to confirm that, but Eleanore is the name for the other woman. So if one of your friends say, hey, how's Eleanore? They're asking about your side chick. So this is my side chick. People like to say Skeeter is my wife. This is my side chick. Now I just need a girlfriend. I'm so happy to have been single and handle this project on my own. I would have been this far along about a year ago, but so many things came up in my life between switching jobs and, well, not really switching jobs. I still have my business and my job, but I've expanded into different areas and been asked to do other things for other companies, and I've just wound up so tremendously busy. But overall, I'm so happy with this car. Really, I'm so happy. I bought a Lincoln welder. It's a shame I didn't get it a little sooner. About 95% of the welding on this car was done with a cheap Harbor Freight, and a lot of people say you can't, make that thing do all that work. So if you saw one of my past videos, a Harbor Freight welder was kind of falling apart. I kept fixing it, just kept servicing it, and I was getting tired of that. I found a really good Lincoln 140 on Craigslist recently, and it works great. The only thing that was really wrong with it is one of the knobs busted, but you can still turn the shaft by just pressing your finger on it. I can replace it, of course, take it apart and get it fixed, but why? It works fine. There's my trophy, of course. This is the first time, actually, that it's come into contact with Eleanore. I still can't believe that. I got a trophy. Anyway, had I have had all the props to it, I bet you I would have got first place. I would have had all the display set up and everything for it. I had still have it, the box full of all the scrap metal that got cut off of this car. Anything that I didn't use is in this box. This box weighs about 40 or 50 pounds, so there's a considerable weight savings. This is that rain gutter that I was showing you that's on the roof over here. this area. This is the one from the good side. The good side of the car wasn't in as bad a shape, but you can see where the welds here have cracked due to rust. This was all rusty up through here, really bad on the inside. It was just falling apart. The other end of it wasn't too bad, but if you're going to replace it, just replace the whole damn thing. Here's the A-pillar. This is the A-pillar on what was, I believe, the driver's side. You used to go right here, and that was that big rusty hole that was at the top. So you can see where this piece of the oval met this part of the A-pillar. Now this A-pillar I made. This is actually, I believe, from a '69 Beetle. And if you look closely, you can see the two welds, because I actually welded in about a ½ inch piece through here, which widened out the pillar to be the correct width. You notice it's the same width as the oval. The goal was to make it look like it was original, despite not being original. And I gotta admit, it fooled a lot of people at the show. And I mean, a lot of people were very, very educated as to, you know, what should be on an oval and what an oval looks like. But they didn't notice some of these things. This car was just entirely too radical. Just too radical. And there were some roof chops that were at the show as well, other ones. And I mean, they were cool. They looked good. Somebody put a lot of work into them, did great work. But their geometry was completely different than mine. Mine was the one that had a crowd around it all day. And honestly, like I said, I was so concerned that people were going to hate this car. Just so concerned. But it turned out great. It really turned out great. A little more welding, a bit more grinding, a little filler here and there. Most things are pretty flat. I think I did a pretty good job. There's a little warpage through here, so I have to pull a dent out of that a little bit. Not too bad. Gonna have to do a little work on that dashboard yet, and I'll pop the trunk for you in just a second. Let me go ahead and pause the camera. Yep, in the trunk here, you probably noticed the oval firewall in the front here in the spare tire area. That's probably one of the things that if you have a good eye and you know what you're looking for, you'll notice right away that that's not correct for an oval. It has the correct parts in there, but some of the geometry isn't correct at all. That is the correct gas tank for an oval. Ovals do not have spring hoods. Ovals actually had a prop job. I'm going to put the prop back in this. It will strictly be just vestigial, you know, like your appendix, your tonsils. It'll just be a part that dangles there that'll look correct, but it's not actually going to be correct at all. That is it as far as what's up under the trunk. Nobody actually popped the cap to find out what was inside of there, but you can't really tell. Maybe you can. Here you can see the ground. The entire bottom of the gas tank is actually rotted out. But you had to open the cap to notice, and I've never seen a judge at a show do that before. So that's the correct tank, but I'm going to have to rebuild it. Yes, it's also on air. At least the front is anyway. You know, there's the valve to it. I hooked that up temporarily just to make sure that the car would get nice and low when I got to the show. It was just easy to just piss the air out of it. And then when I left, just put the air back into it. I'd say about 30% aired up right now. As usually it'll get so low that the front apron just about touches the ground. I've currently got an adjustable beam on there with the adjusters removed, so it spins freely. It rests on the air shocks temporarily instead. I don't plan on leaving it that way. I do plan on building my own electric beam. It's not going to be hydraulic, it's not going to be air, it's going to be actually electric adjustable. More on that in the future, but you'll get to see what that's about. Yes, it does lower by air, and it'll drop down a couple more inches and just about lay that apron on the ground. It gets really close to the ground. I probably couldn't get my hand under it. The bottom of the beam where the adjuster actually sticks down will touch the concrete. And it will actually rest on the ground. That's too low, but it sure looked good at the show. Alright, so here it is. I've got to do a couple things to it, like put taillights on. Finish welding in back in the rear there where the clecos are. I got to finish that up. Up underneath the deck lid here on the inside where the clecos are, there's more clecos in the back that holds in the second set of louvers that's underneath these. Need to finish welding that. This is a very, very long video. Very, very long. I haven't had a video quite this long in a very long time. All brand new pans, of course. You guys watched me build that in an earlier video.
So it's all fresh. You can see the shiny paint. A little dirty right now, but it's very, very shiny. Squeaky, squeaky. Gonna have to lube that up. Oh yes, this strip that I put through here. This, technically, if I didn't have all the rod in it, it would have been a one roof chop job. This, I wish I never added it. And the reason why is the roof became too long. When I slanted it the way I did, the geometry of the slanting actually caused the roof to get longer because it became pivoted. And what happened is the deck lid in the back dropped down. The deck lid's actually further down the rear apron than it's supposed to be. And that may prove to be a problem when I finally put the latch on there. So I'm going to have to play with that and see what I can come up with. But yeah, the deck lid's too long. And when I put it all back together, I had to make some adjustments and cuts up in through here to adjust how that fit. The whole engine compartment's actually a couple inches shorter than it used to be on top. So hopefully the air shroud on the engine will clear the hinges. If not, I'll have to put in some custom hinge mounts. Some people said, go ahead and just cut your air shroud. And I said, well, that's a pain in the ass. What if I want to change out the air shroud someday? And I'll just, make custom hinge mounts if I need to. So we'll play with that. But I think I've got just about everything to finish this car, except for maybe a headliner. These wheels won't be staying on here, mainly because they're not wide enough, and I don't like the offset on them. They're currently probably, I don't know, about 2-3 inches too narrow in the back, and I'd say about an inch too narrow in the front. So I'll be widening that up a little bit. And there it is. Angry, angry Eleanore. Haha. And the 73. So anyway, if you're interested in the 73 Beetle, there it is. Has no rust. Eleanor's not for sale. Well, unless you had some really stupid amount of money you'd wish to give me, but I'm probably still going to tell you no. Well, anyway, thanks you guys for bearing with me. I'm going to have some more sporadic updates on this. I'm not in a hurry right now, so I could probably do some more recording periodically and get things taken care of on a little more of a regular schedule instead of trying to hurry through it. I was pushing myself and hurrying so much that I really didn't have a lot of time to run the camera. I did take some occasional photos, and this video did have some of them in it, some of the progress photos along the way. But it's just amazing that that is the car. When he answers again, you for a second.